It happens quietly, not with chaos, but with an announcement. One morning, governments around the world issue the same message. To ensure stability and security, all physical currency will be replaced with Bitcoin. Overnight, the bills in your wallet, the coins in your pocket, and the cash in your drawer become relics, artifacts from a world that just ended. At first, the reaction is disbelief, then confusion, then panic. People rush to banks, only to find them locked, not by force, but by code. Your money still exists, but only as numbers on a blockchain. No tellers, no cash withdrawals, just a screen confirming that your identity and your wealth are now inseparable. For centuries, cash was more than currency. It was freedom. It allowed you to buy, trade, and survive without permission. Bitcoin was supposed to offer even more: freedom from central banks, inflation, and control. But the irony is instant. The very act of making it universal kills what made it revolutionary. By sundown, the streets looked different. No cash registers, no ATMs, no tips, no hidden economies. The global financial system has collapsed into one network, transparent, efficient, and merciless. Governments call it progress, banks call it innovation, but for billions it feels like eviction. The unbanked, once excluded by paper systems, are now erased entirely. Farmers, laborers, street vendors, those who lived by the exchange of physical cash, stare at their phones like they're holding a lock without a key. And while some celebrate the death of corruption and counterfeit money, others realize what's truly been lost: anonymity. Every transaction, every purchase, every moment of economic life is now recorded forever, stamped into digital stone. The day cash died wasn't just the end of paper. It was the end of privacy, spontaneity, and trust. Humanity traded the rustle of notes for the hum of servers, believing that code could do what character once did. The new world is clean, fast, and precise. But as the last dollar burns and the first block is mined, one question lingers in the air. If money is now perfect, what happens to the people who aren't? For a moment, the world feels reborn. No banks, no borders, no middlemen, just math. The blockchain becomes the new constitution, transparent, incorruptible, eternal. Every transaction, from billion-dollar deals to a cup of coffee, flows through the same digital bloodstream. It's the dream that crypto promised from the start, a world where trust no longer needs humans. In those early days, it feels like utopia. Citizens cheer the end of corruption. Politicians can no longer hide money in offshore accounts. Every transaction is public, verifiable, traceable. The age of secrecy seems over. The blockchain doesn't lie. And for the first time, neither can anyone else. Developing nations leap ahead. With no need for physical banks or cash, financial inclusion explodes. Remote villages with smartphones join the same global market as Wall Street traders. Families once trapped by inflation finally hold a currency, immune to printing presses and politics. Bitcoin maximalists call it humanity's greatest upgrade. They say freedom has finally been digitized. But freedom built on visibility is not freedom. It's exposure. Because while the blockchain is transparent, people are not. Governments can now see everything: who bought what, when, and where. Taxes are automatic. Fines are instant. Dissidents can't hide donations. Whistleblowers can't move funds. And privacy becomes the new form of rebellion. And beneath the surface, a quiet irony grows. The blockchain was meant to be decentralized, a network owned by everyone. But running it requires energy, hardware, and control. The more universal it becomes, the fewer can afford to maintain it. Power begins to re-centralize, not in banks this time, but in data centers. Still, people celebrate. Transactions are instant. Fraud disappears. Inflation stops. For a brief, shining moment, humanity believes it has solved money. But utopias always hide their price. The blockchain freed the world from corruption by replacing it with surveillance. And as the first governments begin to weaponize transparency, the question shifts from "what is Bitcoin worth?" to "what is your freedom worth when it's paid in public?" Because in the blockchain utopia, no one ever lies. They just stop whispering. The collapse doesn't come with noise. It comes with silence. a glitch, a delay, a transaction that takes too long. For a few hours, the world's blockchain, the digital spine of the global economy, stops confirming transfers. Planes can't refuel. Power grids can't pay suppliers. Governments can't issue salaries. Within minutes, humanity realizes what it truly did. It merged civilization with a computer network, and now that network has frozen. What used to be a banking problem is now a survival problem. The market doesn't crash because there is no market, only a global timeout. Millions stare at screens waiting for a number to move. But Bitcoin has no customer service line, no emergency button, no CEO to call. When cash died, redundancy died with it. By the end of the first day, panic spreads. Nations without stable internet connections collapse into barter. Rural economies vanish. Cities riot. Everything that was once physical, food, medicine, fuel, becomes priceless again because digital wealth can't feed a body. In the developed world, the panic looks cleaner, quieter, but it's just as deadly. Wealthy nations, once proud of their perfect blockchain systems, now face a question no one expected. Who fixes the code when the coders panic? Governments intervene, but they no longer issue money. They issue updates, emergency forks, backup nodes, new consensus rules. Every fix creates new fractures, and every fracture creates new factions. The dream of a unified, borderless currency devolves into competing versions of the truth. Within months, the idealists who once promised freedom begin demanding control. They say the blockchain needs guardians, centralized oversight, regulation, the very things Bitcoin was designed to destroy. The transition to crypto didn't just end paper money, it ended resilience. Humanity traded redundancy for efficiency, privacy for transparency, stability for speed. And now, the world runs perfectly, until it doesn't. The blockchain didn't fail because it was weak. It failed because it was flawless. It left no space for chaos. And without chaos, there's no forgiveness. Because when code becomes law, the smallest error becomes a revolution. In the new world, no one lies, because no one can. Every transaction, every transfer, every cent of Bitcoin is recorded forever on the blockchain. An eternal ledger, impossible to erase. At first, it feels noble. Corruption vanishes. Politicians can't hide bribes. Criminals can't launder money. Tax evasion dies overnight. But so does privacy. In a world without cash, the act of buying becomes confession. Every meal, every medicine, every donation, all visible, all traceable. Governments promise that data is anonymous, that wallet addresses aren't people. But humans are patterns, and patterns are easy to trace. Soon, algorithms can map your life like a fingerprint. Freedom becomes measurable. Obedience becomes profitable. Digital purity was supposed to protect humanity from deceit. Instead, it exposes us entirely. A journalist pays a whistleblower, flagged. A citizen donates to an opposition party, suspended. A protester buys a train ticket, traced. Money no longer needs police. It polices itself. In this transparent paradise, reputation becomes the new currency. People start managing their behavior the way they once managed budgets. Controversial opinions cost transactions. Privacy becomes a luxury only available to those who can afford to disappear. And the irony deepens. The technology built to decentralize power begins to concentrate it again. Only a handful of nations control the nodes that verify every global transaction. They don't print money anymore. They approve existence. Meanwhile, underground economies bloom in the cracks. Encrypted exchanges, privacy coins, digital shadows. The new black market doesn't sell drugs or weapons. It sells invisibility. The right to be forgotten in a world that remembers everything. Citizens once proud of transparency now whisper about the old days, when cash left no trace, when trust required faith, not code. For the first time, people miss imperfection, the smudge of a fingerprint on a bill, the lie that could be forgiven, because perfection has a price. And in this new world, the cost of purity is the death of privacy. The blockchain didn't make us honest, it just made us visible. And the more the world sees, the less free it becomes. The dream was equality, one global currency for one global people. But 5 years after the death of cash, the dream has split the planet in two. On one side, the connected, the educated, the digital class. They live inside the blockchain, fluent in crypto, fluent in code. Their wealth moves faster than governments, their data protected by private encryption vaults. To them, Bitcoin is liberation, a financial universe with no middlemen and no limits. On the other side, the disconnected. Billions with no stable internet, no digital literacy, no access to secure devices. For them, the blockchain isn't freedom, it's exile. In villages across Africa, rural Asia, and forgotten corners of South America, people watch as their old economies vanish into a language they can't speak. The world that once excluded them through poverty now excludes them through technology. The divide grows deeper each year. The global elite no longer hoard dollars or gold. They hoard bandwidth. Power comes from access, not ownership. Those who control the networks control the world. Governments promise inclusion, free wallets, public nodes, biometric access. But inclusion isn't equality. Every digital bridge becomes a gate, and every gate has a keeper. The same system that promised decentralization begins to look eerily familiar. Centralized, monitored, efficient, and ruthless. Meanwhile, the underground returns. Entire cities begin trading offline, encrypted USB wallets, peer-to-peer exchanges, dark nodes hidden in abandoned infrastructure. These people aren't criminals. They're refugees from perfection, those who refuse to live under permanent surveillance. Bitcoin was supposed to level the playing field. Instead, it drew a sharper line. Not between rich and poor, but between those who understand the system and those who serve it. The rich of this new world don't flaunt cars or mansions. They flaunt anonymity, the ability to disappear from the blockchain, to exist beyond visibility. And the rest of humanity? They remain hyper-visible, every transaction logged, every choice observed, every mistake permanent. The new divide isn't measured in money anymore. It's measured in freedom, who still has it, and who trades it for convenience. Because in the end, the future didn't kill inequality. It just upgraded it. The paper is gone. The ink is gone. The smell of cash, that faint trace of sweat and survival, has vanished from human life. The world has crossed the Rubicon. Money is no longer printed. It's mined, verified, and watched. At first, it felt like evolution, a system immune to corruption, built not on faith, but on proof. Bitcoin had replaced fiat, and with it, the oldest illusion of all, that value came from government decree. But in killing the old god of money, humanity only built a new one, and this one never sleeps. The blockchain doesn't forgive. It doesn't forget. It records everything forever. And in that permanence, something sacred was lost. Because money, for all its flaws, used to be human. It could be hidden, given, gifted, or burned in rebellion. It could be anonymous and emotional, a bribe, a blessing, a secret. Bitcoin stripped that away. It turned trust into math, morality into protocol, and freedom into visibility. Governments adapted. Central banks didn't die. They rebranded. Digital policies replaced monetary ones. Instead of printing more, they throttled supply. Instead of interest rates, they controlled access. Power didn't vanish. It just put on a cleaner suit. But deep underground, something else emerged. Communities using barter again. Local currencies coded to decay. People building new systems that valued time, labor, and creativity over code. They weren't anti-technology. They were pro-human. They understood what the blockchain forgot, that money isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be personal. And yet, the legacy of the crypto age remains. Transactions are faster. Inflation is conquered. Economies are leaner, more transparent, less corrupt. Humanity won the war against deceit, but lost the comfort of uncertainty. In the world after fiat, the question isn't what is money worth? It's what are we worth when money no longer lies for us. Because once, wealth was measured in what we owned. Now it's measured in what we reveal. The blockchain was supposed to free us from the system, but maybe the real freedom was in the folds of a crumpled bill, the last place where value could hide from perfection.